Okay, so what you want to do too is make sure that you're in the most ergonomic, beneficial position. And it may not be a bad idea to literally go through the cut and to see if your body will follow the line without any breaks, without hanging up the twin line. And also that'll preheat the surface just a little bit. It'll give you a little cleaner cut. So I'm going to come in with a plunge cut, and then I'm going to go straight up from there. Now I'm going to also control my breathing, because if I'm breathing too erratically, it's going to affect my cut. So I won't talk when I'm cutting. Here's my plunge cut. Well, and that's how you cut with a cutting torch. Cut the bear as I promised. It is a 1/4 inch plate, and it'd be nice if I could preheat it, but just a little bit. It'd make the cutting go a little more smoothly. What I had to do yesterday is redraw the bear because the rust was a little thicker than I had anticipated, and it was stopping the cut. You can see where I wire brushed it. There was no wire brush, first wire brush, and then the second wire brush. So I have clean steel, and I'm ready to go. I've got my torch set up. I've already cleaned my torch, so I'll leave my orifice reamer out just because I will frequently clean my torch as I go along, and particularly if I see that it gets dirty in the process or it's just not getting me the clean cut. And I pre-drilled these holes because these are, if I plunge these, then I would lose my line, and this will give me a cleaner edge cut instead of a plunge cut. So I've got the claws are piloted, and so is the eye. That eye is so small that if I plunged it, I would lose my drawing. So I can pick a side, and probably I'll go ahead and start over here and then work my way over. So again, I'm gonna crack it, run it past the smoky stage, don't breathe the fumes. Check to make sure that your thing is fitting. Got a single lock, double lock tip in there. So double lock is for 1/4 inch plate. Okay, so I'm going to steady myself, make sure everything is like balanced, and kind of practice just a little bit before I make this cut. Just make sure everything is smooth. bring the edge, the kindling temperature, start to cut off the edge. And I'm going to control my breathing, because if I talk and breathe and irregularly, then it's going to affect my line. So I may just be quiet in certain areas. Okay, again, kindling temperature off the surface. Cut this line because it's ergonomic. Got a little dross right there, so I'm going to avoid hitting that dross. I'll be repositioning myself because, again, I do like to cut across my body, not backwards and forward. If I have to, I'll cut forward, back and forth, but just get a better cut if I'm perpendicular. And I'm going to use the heavy gauntlet as my steady, and so it's going to get hot, but that's why I'm wearing the heavy gauntlet. So again, I'm going to practice this cut a little bit. There we go. Just as if I'm on the edge, I'll preheat the kindling temperature, start in the hole. I'm assuming that the end of the surfboard is radius in case it hits somebody in the head. So that's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to cut a radius here. Next cut will be, and I may be like moving around just to let certain areas cool off. If you get areas too hot, and sometimes what will happen is like the cut won't be as crisp. So I'll come over here, but that doesn't mean I'm going to come right in here into the paw. I may move over here and then come back when it cools off a little bit. So again, I'm going to practice my cut. And this looks pretty good. I'm going to radius this. So kindling temperature, come off. Okay, now this will be a plunge cut, but that's my negative, so that'll drop off. So I'll slowly depress the lever and then walk it away. Try to give it some fur. So I wanted to give the top of the paw prominence over the board, and I have to be real careful about cutting too much of the board away. So now this is warm, and I think it's a good time to cut that claw. My torch popped off. That tells me that it may have gotten a little bit of rust or carbon soot in the center orifice. I'm gonna clean it. Back to the stinger that spits. So again, I'm gonna preheat at the edge of the hole as if it's the edge of the plate. Start the cut in the hole. And create a silhouette of talons. So now this will be another plunge cut. Bring it to kindling temperature. The steel just can't conduct the heat fast enough away, so what happens with the torch is that it overcomes that conductivity. So just barely press it and walk it at the same time. And here's the top of the paw. And this time I'm gonna stop there and I'm gonna come around this way. So it's getting a little warm. I'll do it here. Elbow. Armpit. A little simulated fur. Knee. So it's looking more like a bear. That's good. I'll take advantage of the warmth here, but it's not super hot. I don't cut the talons on this one. So again, kindling temperature, go into the hole. Try to move fast. Because if you don't, then it'll fuse onto itself. So another plunge. Again, make sure you're comfortable. Notice the moisture that comes off the surface, that it gets evaporated, and that moisture can also interfere with the cut. Still have my stinger, so I'm going to plunge, cut, and walk the torch toward the line. Kindling temperature. If it doesn't go, then give it just another second or two, and then you'll see it starts to melt, and then walk it away. You have to walk it away, otherwise that molten steel will stick to the end of your torch, and it'll also blow up into your face. So this is more simulated fur. Okay, so if it does that, you can come back over here with your cut, or you can be real careful. Oxidized steel will not burn through again. So if I'm not careful with that cut where it stopped, then it'll blow up and it'll make like a crater. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back over here and I'm going to meet it there. So again, the kindling temperature on the edge, started in the slot. This needs to be pretty straight because it's simulating the surfboard. And then I can get a little bit more organic. And I don't really like pulling the torch, but Sometimes you have to, especially with this organic shape. I'll pick up that line of the paw when the steel pulls off a little bit. You need to be careful not to go too fast. It's one of the things that causes the cut to stop. Okay, so put these down here. It's looking good. I like the wet fur look. Okay, so I'm going to use the heat. It's somewhat of a preheat on that talon. Still in good shape there. Now, if the steel is too hot to rest my hand on, then I'll take something else that will protect me. And in this case, I'll use the star that I cut yesterday. So I'm going to cut through this, but it won't. You have to think about all of the different places that it's still connected, but I want to define that more prominently than the board, so that's why this is going to have a cut here. And it's going to be a little tricky making sure that that cut and that cut look the same, but that's just what I'm going to have to do. So I'm going to start with this cut, and then I'm going to come back up here, and I like that little nubbin right there. I think that looks good. So I need to make sure I capture that. Still got a stinger that spits. So I'm going to preheat the kindling temperature, start the cut off. I'm going to come back over here, edge kindling temperature, start the cut in this. I'm going to reposition myself. Those are, and my torch hose slipped off the side, and that's what caused it to stop cutting. But when it flicks like that, those are flakes of rust that could potentially cause the cut to stop. Okay, make sure that you're not cutting into your table. But no, I'm fine. I checked that earlier, but that could be a situation that you want to avoid. Okay, now that I've got, well, I'm gonna come up to here, but I don't want to cut too much off of here because it's going to get real flimsy. So I'm going to cut the rest of these while I still have the line. Stay with that. This one, again, I waited so that it wasn't too hot, but it's nice also to have preheat on that surface. So kindling temperature, come off. You got to think legs and paws when you're cutting, or surfboard when you're cutting that. Still clean here. So might as well get this one while I'm in the mood. Come back up here, and what I might do, since I don't have any support here, I might finish the cut, the bare of the cut bare up here, and then flip it around and then do that part. Because if I do that freehand, that is not going to look like a smooth surface on the bottom. So I think that's going to be my final cut. So you got to strategize when you're working with the torch, because. So again, I'm going to preheat, but really get myself in position for this part of the cut. Edge the kindling temperature, start the cut in this slot. Particularly seeing process like this is a start, stop, start, now it's a stop, because you see that it's made by somebody, and so you know, if you look at this 50 years from now, you'll say, oh yeah, this was cut by hand. Should hear on your cut that whistling sound, and that means that you're making the cut it's going all the way through. If you don't hear that whistling sound, then you may only be cutting partially the way through, and then it'll hang up. That is a difficult situation because then you got slag on both sides of the cut and it's not all the way through, so it's tricky to make that cut. So just take your time, go slow enough, make sure your torch is clean, make sure you're positioned well, and again, so now my positioning has changed, so I have this arc ready. I'm doing a little bit of preheat, start on the edge, bring it to kindling temperature, start the cut in the hole. And I slowly depress the lever. That way it doesn't blow molten steel on me. At the limit of my flexibility, so I'm going to change position. So I'm thinking about what's going to support it. It's probably going to pop because the steel expands, contracts with heat, and when it has little remaining steel that's supporting it, you'll hear it click and pop, and part of it will probably fall away. But prepared for that, so because I want to leave part of it still attached, and then I'll support it underneath so I can make the cut. I'll clamp a bar or something underneath it so that it doesn't fall away. So now I'm going to make the cut probably to the nose. See the moisture evaporating off the surface. It's a good idea to bring that up to kindling temperature. So edge up to kindling, start the cut in the hole. Slowly to press. So the initial drawing is important, and then the transfer of that drawing is more important than that initial drawing. And then the cut, don't just follow the line, think about ears. So now I'm thinking about brow. So I've got a line that's going to guide me, but also I can still give it some character in the cut. And that's the final cut. I might as well do that, because if I go back in later with that, it's going to be too hot. So I'll use the preheat as an advantage here in the eye, and I need to think about an eye. It's round on the bottom, but it's got that pupil shape. So this is going to be should be a pretty quick cut. It's really tricky. Now the mouth I kind of mold over, probably too much, but I wanted to give it fangs, but I don't want the fangs too close together because then it'll be a tricky cut. This is going to be a fast cut also, and I think that I can still come out a little bit with the chin. Okay, so something's going on here. And is it because I'm running out of fuel? No. So let's do that again. Take the opportunity to clean my torch tip. so here we go. This is already warm, so I don't have to get it too hot. Reposition. Click. So what I need to do now is support it, because when I cut that, there's not going to be much supporting it except for the remaining dross that's in the cut. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a bar too. Should be enough. So it's severed. So when I make that cut, it could fall. I needed that time anyway because I was running out of ergonomics. Quickly get through that city phase and don't breathe that soot. Okay, if it does fall, just make sure it's not falling on your twin line. click I was telling you about. It's starting to pull away. I hear that a lot on motorcycles and different metals that are expanding, contracting. Aluminum, steel, iron, magnesium. Take advantage of this. It popped off. See, I do a lot of cleaning. I'm not enlarging it, I'm just cleaning out the hole, and I'll get a consistent cut then. This looks like this is going to be something that can give me some support. Have a little bit more support than that, but looks like that's what I got for now. Just be in a zen moment here. That's it, right? Right there? Is that just the bar? Let's see. So protect your ears, because it's gonna get loud. Riding a surfboard. Just get underneath it. This is with a sharp chisel. This is a dull chisel. It protects your edge. If it's a clean cut, it doesn't take much. That's the other advantage of making sure that your cords are set up properly, is because the cleanup is marginal. shock from my hammer usually will knock some of that tenacious stuff off. Grinding is required. Okay, there's your diener.